what is the inflation rate of XRP?
That early vision was these pools of liquidity that everybody can contribute to and everybody can draw off that are kind of unbundled from the payment system or the asset that you're using to pay with. Automated market makers, I think, will help improve that liquidity because they can capture a long tail of assets better than technologies like order books can.
And a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits when we're lost to arbitrage, and it will be bolstered by incentive programs. The value proposition of XRP is that it has these liquidity pools. Automated market makers on the XRP ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other DEXs.
The XRP Ledger is poised to become an ecosystem of cooperatively interconnected XRPL protocol chains.
Ripple is a company that evolved out of the original development of the XRP Ledger. It was created by the same people who had originally created the XRP Ledger, and the original task was to do something with all the XRP, essentially, to come up with some way to turn that into something, something useful and valuable. Ripple cannot be a successful blockchain company if there aren't other successful blockchain companies, just like Google can't be a successful internet company if there aren't other successful internet companies. And it's one of the reasons why some of the tribalism in the space bothers me and frustrates me so much, is because we literally cannot succeed without each other. It's not possible. A standard can't have one adoptee. The value is that everybody can find what they want in this. If it's going to be this democratization and ownership, that's going to mean that everybody who wants to go there is going to be able to find what they want, and that's going to mean that you're going to have to enable some people to do things that you wish they didn't do, and that kind of letting go is going to be challenging to see. There's going to be some social change.
Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. So we're going to go over quickly XRPL's tokenomics, because I see so many times on Twitter comments from within the community and from outside the community, and even especially people who have been here a while, that have a preconceived notion that Ripple's still dumping on retail, even though they release quarterly reports every quarter and they show how much they've sold and bought back. Now, I'm going to do another video in the future on the escrow, and it's been 6 years since that's been implemented, and I personally think that needs to be updated at the end of this case, but that's for another video. Here we have a question. What really is the inflation rate of XRP, like added to the circulating supply from Ripple? I've not seen it until I came across a report. And this is the More Than Ripples report from Messari that came out in March, which is packed, jam-packed with fantastic information that answers so many of the questions that go around the community. Now, a week or so ago, we had a interesting scenario where a fake article came out about Ripple doing a $10 billion buyback. It was almost like satire, in a way. Ripple's bootstrapping ODL right now. Now, ODL is not the end game. ODL is transactional demand. That does not drive the value of XRP up in itself, but it's a necessary component to help kickstart this virtuous flywheel that's going to come. But there's another component that is needed with that transactional value. That component that's needed with that transactional value is storage demand. We don't have that right now, but we will be getting it, and that is from the AMMs. natively built into the ledger. It's part of XRP's economic model. The same way staking is for ETH and Avalanche. They put staking at the heart of their economic model. Now, Flare is going to add staking, but that's not like at the heart of the economic model. So there's tokenomics, which is the supply and vesting schedules and things like that. But there's crypto economics and there's mechanism design. And it's not just about transactions, because XRP set up so fast, transactional value doesn't equate. It doesn't go linearly. So as there's more transactional value, it doesn't mean more value in the XRP, because you don't need to hold the asset. XRP needs to compete. It is not special. There's nothing special about XRP, the token. It's the protocols. Now, XRP has this advantage where it could bake in and embed programmability. So amendments can be passed that add programmability, like the AMM, like the federated sidechains and the witness server, like hooks. And hooks is gonna be a monster. It's gonna change the whole game. What is the inflation rate of XRP? What does everyone think? I put out a poll on this a while back, and it was very off on what people thought. Now, any new blockchain has high inflation rates in the beginning. Like Flare, people think it's giga inflation. It's not giga inflation. It's distribution for 3 years, and then that ends. So when a distribution period ends and it's set, it's not inflation because it's a hard cutoff. And that goes down from 10% to 8% to 5%. By the time the end that distribution is over, you got a 5% inflation rate. That is roughly where XRP's inflation rate is. So Messari did the work, and this is an independent review. This is commissioned by Ripple, but they do not get a say in what is written. It's completely independent. This is accurate information. It's data. Because XRP's circulating supply is subject to inflationary and deflationary pressures. So if the escrow unlocks and deflationary pressure is the burn mechanism. Now, technically, if you want to get technical, it's not really inflation because there's only 100 billion XRP and no more could ever be created unless 80% of the validators voted for that. And that's never, most likely where we are at now, and with the network getting more decentralized, never going to happen. So that deflationary pressure, the burn mechanism, is so minimal, it will have no effect in the future. Due to these pressures, the circulating supply has had an inflationary rate of 5.4% roughly since 2021, and the total supply is slightly deflationary as no more XRP will be created, but some will continue to be destroyed by the burn mechanism. The inflation rate of XRP varies depending on how much XRP is distributed by Ripple. Now, see, that's where I think, in 2017, this was good for 6 years, but I think we're at a point where after this case, and we'll probably need hooks to do this, and once hooks comes on, you can program the escrow. So we could add a hook to the escrow and program based on certain conditions on the network to distribute out, like every other network. And that's the logical way to think about this, because David Schwartz said the AMM will be bolstered by incentive programs.
And a sort of secret sauce that will allow liquidity providers to get more of the profits normally lost to arbitrage. And it will be bolstered by incentive programs.
Now, with full clarity, Ripple could do some things, but they're going to slowly, and it's better for the market, that escrow is not going to central banks or any of those extreme ideas, because those are wild speculation because they're not rooted in any fact. So the fact is, he said, bolstered by incentive programs. Where are you going to get the incentives from?
And it will be bolstered by incentive programs.
Let's see, what else releases on a monthly basis that we know of that has XRP? It
will be bolstered by incentive programs.
This is what we need to be following. This is where the opportunity is. And I'm not saying liquidity mining. So now to where the point where it's just going to drive the price down, because the storage demand, as you could run more payments through, and I'm doing a whole thing on valuation framework that I'm working out, but we're going to talk about it more and more with some diagrams to understand what's really the valuation framework, not, some pretend valuation framework. The reality of what's taking place and the real technicals based off Susan Athey. She said, and Robbie Mitchnick, even though that's 6 years old and there's some outdated stuff in there, they acknowledge that storage demand is the driver of long-term value. So Flare will have a collateral pools, XRP will have liquidity pools. So by putting these things at the heart of the networks governed by the network and the rules embedded, they avoid any regulatory risks. And the XRP Ledger is designed by design with these trust lines. So if an issuer issued a regulated asset, no payment is going to run through that pool. It's a payment or an offer. The AMMs are not separate from the DEX order book. They are one. The liquidity is unified. You don't choose to go to the AMM to send your offer through. It routes it automatically, and applications will have the interfaces which will do all that behind the scenes. Or you could send a cross-currency payment that will then automatically just get routed through the best path.
So one of the problems with a cross-asset payment, let's say I'm spending XRP to pay somebody Bitcoin, is I'm going to draw down an order book, or I'm going to push the market against me. I'm going to take the cheapest liquidity first, and then I'm going to have to move to more expensive liquidity. The XRP Ledger has multi-path payments that can draw down liquidity from multiple sources, and that will include the various automated market makers. So for example, if I'm going from XRP to USD, I can go directly from XRP to USD through an automated market maker order book, but I could also go XRP Bitcoin USD, XRP Ethereum USD through these multiple paths. And if I draw down multiple paths at the same time, I don't have to move the market as much, and so I can get a better rate. Done right, automated market makers on the XRP Ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other DEXs.
And this is huge because David Schwartz has said he told King Solomon, I am more excited about the supply side because that's what drives the ecosystem and the holders of XRP to earn yield, and it's real yield.
Yeah, XLS30, the automated market maker, I'm just the mechanics and the mathematics of trading is something that's really exciting to me. And I'm excited for the possibility that that's going to bring, not so much for adding liquidity. It will add liquidity. Personally, that's not what I'm super excited about. What I'm super excited about is the trading strategy that will execute on behalf of token holders and the yield that I think that the people who sort of loan cryptocurrencies and stable coins providing liquidity to the pool will get.
This is what institutions want. This is what financial institutions are used to. This idea of earning fees, revenue, and yield. They're not all here for just a moonshot. So for them, they could get into XRP without actually buying XRP. As a slick way of a setup where, say there's a regulated, issued stablecoin, deposit token, whatever it is, it's regulated, issued on the public XRP ledger. The only accounts that could hold that in their account will be authorized trust lines. Those trust lines will need to be KYC'd. And that's where the digital identity, which is coming in the privacy and zero knowledge proofs, will help drive a compliant institutional DeFi. You can't have institutional DeFi just because you said you had institutional DeFi. You have to break down these barriers, and they're high barriers. This is not something every network's going to be able to do. So these institutions are going to be able to access and provide liquidity in the AMMs due to the trust line's capability to only allow authorized accounts and entities to hold or trade through that asset. So if it's an issued asset in the pool, a XRP and a regulated deposit token or stablecoin or CBDC, nobody can access that to trade through from XRP to it or from it to XRP. They can't access it. They need to be authorized. So therefore, they need to go through KYC. This is where digital identity plays a huge role in. And we're going to see that. And now everyone, the institutions feel comfortable because everybody they're trading with is compliant. Now they could actually deposit any of the regulated fiat that's on the other side of the pool, is the other asset. and it will automatically swap half into XRP. And by swapping into half XRP, they actually made a buy on XRP, and now that raised the value of the pool. So the pool's value has now been raised due to the institution who just deposited the regulated stablecoin or deposit token, but it actually was a buy. And it doesn't have to go on their balance sheet. They actually didn't directly buy it, but they did. And it unbalances the pool. So the whole pool's value goes up. Unlike a typical buy that would come through as a trade, that doesn't do anything to the price. This is what drives price, is to see the storage demand, not the transactional value. But they're only coming in the pool because they know they could deposit this token and they get back an LP token now. That's something they're familiar with. A claim, yield. These are common concepts. And it's guaranteed by the ledger. It's not guaranteed by a DApp, by a smart contract, by a DAO. It's guaranteed by the public 10-plus-year-old blockchain's robustness. They could always get that back. And if it's USD, technically what they have is a hybrid stablecoin with 50% less volatility than XRP, but with the benefits of being semi-decentralized, because the trust line for the liquidity token is not connected to the issuer. And that's important. This is where Stellar's AMM doesn't compare to the XRP ledgers, because it doesn't have these capabilities. And this is why they spent a lot more time building AMM, and why it'll have a more higher adoption rate than Stellar's, because the LP token is key to building that DeFi ecosystem. Because now you could take that asset, which is a guaranteed claim to redeem both of those assets 50-50. Now, it might be a different ratio. Well, it definitely will be, because you're going to have fees building up. You're going to have this continuous auction mechanism earning every 24 hours. It's going to earn more of both assets. You'll learn, because it's harvesting the volatility from the arbitragers, plus the fees. Now, if there's arbitrage, and they could do it right, since they have the DEX and order book and the AMM, those are unified liquidity. So trades that come through and payments, there's only two ways that things go through. Nobody will go directly to the AMM pool the way you do in Uniswap. It won't work like that. It will be automatically go through wherever the best path is. So there'll be market making on DEX, order book, and on these AMMs. We could have different pools of different USD XRP pairs. The more pools XRP is in, the more XRP locked up. This is called TVL. And if you've seen that acronym before, it's called Total Value Locked. XRP has 0 right now. Well, that we're aware of. And we don't know what happens with RippleNet. They're bootstrapping that. And that's why this inflation rate of 5.4% is fairly reasonable. That is not by any means putting downward pressure. But what I'm trying to get at here is if for example, Ripple loans XRP to a payment service provider and they just shoot that across the network into another corridor, you might think, oh, they're selling it into that corridor. But it doesn't matter, because if it goes through any pool or anywhere in the network, because they have a distributed exchange, they're going to route everything. When they sign up to RippleNet now, they sign up with Ripple, and Ripple orchestrates everything.
We came up with this concept of Liquidity Hub, which is this idea that, and it's sort of its simplest approach, you essentially would onboard with Ripple, and Ripple would sort of aggregate the behavior of those exchanges. And that abstracts away. I think you should think of Liquidity Hub as that sort of networkizing of ODL, of more like onboard with Ripple, and now you get this whole suite of services that doesn't involve you integrating with 20 other things.
Especially with Matako, and David Schwartz just went over there, and he lost his voice from talking to all the employees, so he must have been talking a lot out there in Switzerland. So the fact that he did that, and they're setting up shop now, and because they're now Ripple employees, those 200 plus, and you're now creating all this transactional value demand. It's going to create the demand for people to stake the pools. So on the retail side, we could stake right into as XRP. And I'm going to call it staking because that's what David Schwartz called it. And that's what, from a user's perspective, you won't directly interact with the pool. There'll be an application, but that will be the new transaction type, depositing liquidity. If you deposit just one asset, you have to pay the fee that pool charges. It'll be anywhere from 1/10 of a basis point to 1%. That goes to everybody in the pool. And since the XRP Ledger could run so many transactions through so fast and settle so fast, the arbitragers can rebalance the pool right away.
Because the transaction fees are so low on the XRP Ledger and the transactions are so fast, that means arbitraging is going to be more efficient and the pool is going to be able to capture more volatility for yield.
So those sell orders going through, doesn't matter. It has no effect because really the prices are on the external exchanges and the DEX order book. And there'll be arbitrage that will happen, not part of the continuous auction mechanism, but they have the advantage because they have 4 accounts and they could do it with no costs. Big, because Uniswap dominates. Like, if anyone's not aware, Uniswap does more volume than Coinbase. And a recent survey asked institutions on the buy and sell side. And the buy side is like the asset managers, your BlackRocks, your BNY Mellons, and hedge funds, and family offices. They said within 2 years, they expect 60% of all crypto trading to be happening on decentralized exchanges. This is the world we're heading into. Decentralized exchanges are not going anywhere. And that is where the price will be determined. But a lot of trading and value exchange happens not on the exchanges, but it still impacts the value. So, for example, the demand for XRP to be staked in liquidity pools, where does it come from? It comes from the exchanges, and it comes from people's cold wallets, or they're less likely to sell because they're going to be able to earn a continuous revenue, and it's going to bring in a new wave because these institutions want yield. They're going to hold an asset. They could earn USD and XRP. They're in, and this is the virtual cycle. So the more transactional volume, the more people who are going to stake the pool. Therefore, it's deeper liquidity. And the deeper liquidity, the more volume you can run through and over.
Because the transaction fees are so low on the XRP Ledger and the transactions are so fast, that means arbitraging is going to be more efficient and the pool is going to be able to capture more volatility for yield. XRPL's low transaction fees, high transaction fees make arbitraging so much more competitive and so much faster that it reduces the pool's arbitrage losses and increases the pool's volatility gain. The consensus process doesn't allow any party to be the dictator of the moment to run the block. This makes arbitrage slots more valuable and should increase the returns on the continuous auctions, resulting in more liquidity token destruction and more yield. One of the disadvantages of holding assets like XRP and Bitcoin is their volatility. All right, why do we have stablecoins? Because volatile assets are hard to hold and use. I'm hopeful that this combination of features in the AMM specification will turn that disadvantage into a significant advantage. AMMs will harvest volatility for yield. Volatility will drive market makers, which the AMM makes the spread, right? If the price of Bitcoin stays at $20,000, eventually everybody who wants to buy at $20,000 is bought and everybody who wants to sell at $20,000 is sold. It takes a movement in price to really drive that volume. And of course, volatility increases arbitrage profits because the AMM gets more out of balance more, and the AMM gets a cut of those profits through the auction mechanism.
So this could really turn the volatility of a digital asset from a downside to an upside. Super excited about it.
And automated market makers are poised to become a major cornerstone of global crypto liquidity across all assets and multiple chains.
And even Ripple facilitating that if they want to, but they know the payment execution engine, which is one of the secret sauces about the ledger. The industry doesn't really understand or know, but it's a trio of technologies, the AMM. The DEX Central Limit Order Book. So you see the word CLOB or the acronym CLOB, that's Central Limit Order Book. And that's programmable matching trading engine built into the ledger. This is the most advanced tech, and it's 10 years old. And then you have the payment execution engine, which can actually find paths. So, for example, and they just put out a white paper on this. It was very technical, and they didn't even go deep into the payment execution engine. Here's what they could do. You could send, for example, say somebody was sending a payment, and it was a cross-currency. It could actually break that order up into partially, and say it's a large payment. And this is why large payments, everyone thought, large payments are going to drive the price. No, they're not. Here's why. Because they'll be split up. And they already have smart order routing in the distributed exchange that powers Liquidity Hub and RippleNet, which we'll get to next. Now, that payment, which is cross-currency, it could be a trade too, which is an offer, can get routed half through an AMM for XRPUSD. But if that payment makes it so that it drains more of that liquidity to where it has slippage and it sees a better route through the order book, it might put a quarter through the order book and then a quarter through XRP, BTC to BTC USD, and it'll route it through there. So it'll route it through, and it knows this. And those who are familiar with the payment execution engine and that can build enterprise applications like Ripple can enhance this even further. So we have the author from the Messari report, XRP Ledger, More Than Ripples. So he writes in this long tweet thread, what Hooks is going to add is going to be smart accounts. So now you have smart accounts plus smart transactors plus then smart contracts in the dApps up above. So you could create all complex stuff above this in the future, but you need that base foundation to create an ecosystem of these dApps. Instead of just, we go right to the dApps and let them do everything, we see what type of risks that brings. So he writes, remember trust lines from tweet 4. They are structured for holding tokens. In order to receive an issued currency, you need to set trust line and lock up 2 XRP in the process. Authorized trust lines allow even further gaming at the asset level. They enable issuers to choose which wallets they can interact with their tokens. Sounds like a proper tool for stablecoin issuers to remain compliant with AML KYC regulations. Sovereignty note. If you think that sounds like a dystopian tool, we've already seen Circle do the same with blacklisting USDC addresses used on Tornado Cash. So this is just a cleaner version of the same function. A centralized asset is a centralized asset, no matter where it is. Exactly. So if there's an issuer, this is baked in. Circle, USDC, it's just they do whatever they want in their contract that they created. Where this, at least, the trust lines, you get verified. And now with them building XLS40D, the decentralized identifier, you're going to have one portable identity they could be able to bring everywhere. And you'll have to remain privacy and you just get verified once. That's it. Done. And now you could be able to utilize that instead of having to make 12 different accounts at all these foreign exchanges people throw their data around. Now, this is going to allow for anyone to be compliant to go through those AMM pools. For argument's sake here, this would allow for a compliant, let's call it regulated money, right? That's what we call it. Regulated money. You know that it's regulated because it's compliantly issued, unlike USDC, which is non-compliant. This would allow billions to run through pools and everybody can contribute. Public, global liquidity pools. That's what David Schwartz's vision's always been. Well, how are you going to create public pools? You need to make them compliant. And how are you going to make a USDC Uniswap pool compliant? But that's a smart contract app. This is built at the network layer. There's no trust. There's no regulating it. It's just built in. This has nothing to do with XRP. But since the pool has to have 2 assets, but if you want to use the pool, you got to swap from one asset to another, either that's XRP or USD, so you got to get a trust line. So regardless of how it is, it's baked in by design.
That market is predominantly an institutional market then? Or do you foresee a lot more retail adoption driving the growth within Flare?
I hope it's both.
Mm-hmm.
To me, institutions are fantastic. And are obviously adopting this space quickly. But this is about decentralization. This is decentralized finance for a reason. If it's not available to retail, then there's very little point of doing it, as institutions are already capable of accessing any type of finance that they wish to access.
The XRP Ledger uses order books instead. These work and they work well. They just don't provide as much liquidity as automated market makers can. And I think another important point is automated market makers allow stakeholders to get a return from the profits the automated market maker gets, and not having that is big. And that leaves the XRP Ledger uniquely positioned to leapfrog other DEXs by offering a unique automated market maker implementation. Probably the most unique feature is it allows those who provide liquidity for automated market makers to take a large share of the profits that would normally go to arbitrageurs. Done right, automated market makers on the XRP Ledger could be a game changer, uniquely positioning it to leapfrog other DEXs.